Hi, America. How are you doing? So I decided to pull, I decided I might make this a regular thing if it pans out well. Um, we are going to talk about video games. We got a few things planned up here. Um, Willoughby, what you been up to?
Not much. I'm just plodding through life at the moment.
Plotting through
But
life.
been picking at L.A. Noir
Hmm.
on your recommendation. It's a pretty solid game.
It was
Um,
recommended a while ago by me.
yes, but
The
again,
face capture really has its like timing on it now. It's like you could kind of it's like it looks okay. I mean, but it was revolutionary in 2011. Like everyone was like, "What the fuck? These
Right?
faces, they're so realistic. I can see emotions.
yeah.
I'm feeling emotions." Um,
But I don't have as varied a background as Brock does with
well,
most games.
that's because I tend to jump from every game to every game to every game, and I attack every Steam sale I can.
Yeah, that's
Where
true.
you are a little bit more methodical and you find yourself a game and you're like, oh, this is a nice little corner. I'm going to play this.
True.
This looks fun. True.
So my history is a little more with RPGs and for a few first-person shooters.
Well,
But,
my favorite game is an RPG. It's The Witcher, but
True.
there's specific RPGs that I mean turn-based I cannot do.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
fucking sucks.
Yeah. I started off mine, with the traditional RPGs, the Final
You loved
Fantasies,
Final
and stuff.
Fantasy. I remember that.
Kingdom Hearts, all that
Until
stuff.
Final Fantasy 13 too.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that.
Well, we might be able to get you started on that. That'd be kind of fun.
A topic for another day, perhaps.
But yeah, so as a little introduction, I'm Brock. I'm super famous on the internet. I got 5 Twitch views last week on my Twitch video game channel. So, I'm just trying to I'm just a person. I'm just like you.
Yeah, he even had the creators of One Finger Death Punch
That
send
was
him a message.
that was
pretty cool.
amazing. So I just went out on a limb and I was like, oh wow, I'm really enjoying this One Finger Death Punch game. These developers, I looked them up on Twitter and I just announced to Twitter, hey guys, I'm going to be streaming One Finger Death Punch, thanks to Silver Dollar Games, and I gave their little Twitter
Hashtag.
no, their Twitter handle, and they apparently saw that on their feed and was like, oh, cool, dude, see you there. I'm like, what? Well, this was me just looking at the message. I was like, wait, so they're gonna watch my stream? I got so nervous for a second. I was like, holy shit, the developers of this game are gonna watch me stream it? That's awesome. So throughout that whole cast, I don't think they left once. They kept it on, and they were sometimes the only other viewer in that thing. But you know what? Might as well. I don't give a fuck.
That was pretty cool.
It was the developers.
Yeah.
So
So that's big thumbs up to those guys
yeah,
for
no kidding. Silver
you know.
Dollar, you guys rule. But yeah, so I mean, lately, like I said, I've been playing a lot of Steam games, and I've delved into a few early access stuff, but and one thing that me and Will came across on, and we had saw years ago, as its beta for as an Arma 2 mod, we saw DayZ. For those of you who don't know what DayZ is, and it's kind of surprising if you don't by now. I mean, this game has been huge lately in the PC gaming industry, and
Yeah.
if you've gotten to this cast somehow, you have some kind of knowledge of something related to that. But anyway, for those of you who may very well not know somehow, DayZ is this amazing MMO experience that still one of a kind for me, even though there's been copies like Rust and stuff coming out, but it's not the same. Zombie apocalypse, but it's not exactly the biggest deal that there are zombies around.
Yeah, the zombies aren't really the most dangerous part of the game, mainly because of there's so much player on player interaction. It's kind of one big social experiment.
Yeah, the servers are relatively small for an MMO. They only get up to 30 people, but it's guaranteed that if you're in a server of 30 people,
And it's full.
which is full, you're pretty much screwed unless you have some kind of strap setup. The cool part about it still, though, is that the game is so buggy that sometimes, well, it's also not the cool part if it's you, but sometimes the guys who are complete assholes to you, who are snipers or some shit, just die at random. You know, that's always fine.
Yeah.
But when it happens to you, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest benefits and disadvantages that the game has. We've both had a number of ill-timed bugs, just to say the least.
Ill-timed. I guess I'll tell the story about that one.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we Will and I, when we were getting like really into the DayZ setup, we had
like really into it. Like
we were super into it. We had, you know, we'd played a few times, and we're like, at one point I was strapped, and I had a friend helping me out a lot, and the servers reset at some point, and I lost that character. And then again in another update later, I got that character back, but that was a different story. I mean, there was some at that point. The last thing with that person that was kind of funny was there's a user that came in. That I was like, you know, completely, you know, bereft of any items or anything. But I was like, oh, are you friendly? He's like, oh yeah, I'm cool. You know, when you hear someone say I'm cool, that means they're an asshole. Because people who are actually friendlies are like, yeah, I'm a friendly. But anyway, that guy tried to kill me and I shot him. Moving on. Me and Will had gotten really into this. There's this amazing app called iSurvive on our iPhone, any iPhone, and it just gives you a map of Chernaris, which is the huge map. It's expansive, man. You could fly a jet across it, which eventually I guess might happen. And we were getting really into it, and we decided, you know what? Fuck going to these coastal cities, because there's dudes in these coastal cities that just literally just have fun with new spawns and just kill you for no real good reason, just to kill you, literally.
So they'll park in like these perfect sniper spots and they'll just hunt noobs all day.
See, it's not even noobs though. See, that's the thing.
Yeah, noobs is putting it a little
It's not really noobs anymore, because a lot of people that are really like veterans can die at any time, honestly.
If you're not set up and you don't know where to go, if you just wander around aimlessly, you're gonna get shot. You're gonna get, you know, backstabbed, whatever have you.
This especially happens on the coast. So we had a plan. We got our iSurvive maps out and we trekked up to the north, like middle north part of the map, and we started just going straight inland. You know, we started looking for water spots, making sure we were good. We've eventually got fire axes. You know, fire axes kill zombies one hit. You know, it's great.
Yeah. So we'd found backpacks. We'd found food.
We got pretty good geared up, and then the coolest thing happened. Right, we stumbled across. We were heading towards an airport, an army airbase, but we ran into this sort of encampment just before it. Was it?
Yeah.
We didn't even have to end up going to the airport. The little encampment, which had no people in it, if we're being honest here, we went into a lowly populated server just so that we can finally get started up on your characters, right?
Yeah.
And then we were gonna see if we could, you know, sort of be like trailblazers and help people get around and stuff like that. We went to this army base, or this army headquarters living area, and we just got fucking strapped, right? We got M4s with all the attachments on it. You know, we got tactical jackets. We got everything we could. We got boots. I mean, the whole nine.
Just completely strapped.
And we ended on that high note one night, and then the next day we both had the day off. We started in the middle of. We played in the middle of the day for a little bit, and we got out of the military base. We headed to a little town that was just outside of the army base, and we didn't have too much time at this point. But so we get into this nice little town. There's a lot of food and stuff, but the army base had plenty, so we weren't really like even looking for food at this point. We were just looking for a good spot to you know, log out now at this point.
For those who don't really know DayZ that well, to log out, you actually have to, find a safe place where zombies and people won't find you, which is generally
zombies walk through walls, so
Yes.
it's not really that safe anywhere.
But if you can go upstairs, it's generally a good idea. So you generally want to find a nice place upstairs that's out of the way, where you can basically just hide in a corner and log out, because your character stays in the game for a couple minutes, like 10 minutes. Is it?
Right. Yeah. Well, that was before that update, so technically our characters would have logged out immediately. So we find this nice little quaint little 2-story house, and Willoughby here is pretty good at catching the right houses, right? So it ends up like he started noticing kind of these the fact that the design of these buildings actually were pretty inherent to what items they had inside.
Yeah.
So, obviously the developers had little time and they had to spawn a preset house, right? They just have randomized items that spawn in those houses. So he would notice, oh, that one's going to have something in it. That one's going to probably have something really good, food or something. So we went into one of those houses, shacked up, stripped it down, got everything we could out of there. And then the best thing in the world happened.
We went upstairs to, pick a spot to save.
Yeah, so we went upstairs, we checked out the rooms upstairs. We went into a room and... we were like, okay, we're good here. We should just call it a night. So we're like, okay. Will was a little bit behind me in the house, and I had gone up. I went prone. You can crouch, prone, stand. I went prone, and my screen went black. And the most
demoralizing sentence in the world.
For those of you who haven't played DayZ before, a black screen implies either you're unconscious or you have died. And that's the worst thing for a person to see when there's nobody around. We even checked out the windows before we even logged out.
There was no gunshots. There was no zombies biting him. He just died.
Just before I was deciding, oh man, I'm such a good spot, I need to log out. I died.
Just says, you've died. Do you wish to respawn?
I literally paced around the house in anger for a little while.
Slammed his keyboard in and was like, what the hell? It was
I'm glad I had coffee because it was calming my nerves. But that was the single most frustrating thing I've experienced in that game, and I haven't really gone back to it that much since.
We take it a step at a time, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly waiting on updates to bring out like the stuff that they're promising, like housing and stuff like that, so you can
foraging,
you can save shit in a building that is locked from other people if you can manage to get a lock for it or whatever, and you can keep all your shit in there, and if you die, you know where to find it, right? If you're on the same server, if it's there, you'll be able to find it. Yeah, I'm wondering if that'll be able to span across servers, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I mean,
but now they're like penalizing like crazy with the servers, though.
Yeah, well, that's just because they don't want people switching servers all the time. So there's a minor time penalty if you want to switch servers.
Right.
But they save all the loot that's on you, so you might as well, if you save stuff in a certain location, that makes sense.
Right.
But for those who want to play DayZ, the I Survive I Survive app
is pretty damn cool.
Is good. So I would recommend that for you if you want to play it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to get into this little thing that came up with when we were playing the game. Like, it ended up like I kind of, when I'm playing a game, I have a different mindset than Will here. When I'm playing, I kind of am just like sort of sitting in the moment, I guess, would be the best thing to describe it. Sort of like, it's I mean, I enjoy playing the game while I'm playing it, that's why I'm able to be like, I don't need to play this right now, like, and switch over to another game, because it's not about losing interest. It's just, for me, I enjoy flipping around to games because I like the different little mini experiences that I can get, and like stuffing and because now I mean, we're both really busy with school and everything, so I have very limited time to play games and I want to try them all out. You know,
Mhm.
I still have games on my games list that I still haven't even opened.
Which
Um,
is amazing because he has what, upwards of 100 and what games?
it's not even that amazing in comparison to a lot of people,
To
but
me, it's amazing
it's
because I have like
it's
25 games.
it's something like 117, something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so I wanted to kind of get into this situation with what we were talking about, the houses in Daisy.
Mhm.
Yeah, developers when they're making a game, right? They have limited time to do things. Uh, they have basically no time to do much
Yeah.
because they're often strapped under, both for cash and strapped for
Yeah.
time
They have
because
limited
they have
resources to work
serious
around. Yeah.
deadlines. I mean, the game development community is one of the craziest working environments I've heard so many times. Um, and when they're making this stuff, they make things like this thing that Will starts noticing, right? These patterns, he's like, oh, that house there will have a lot of items in it, and I'm like, how can you even tell that? He's like, just notice it on the way. I'm like, huh, okay. Um, but I wanted to get into this because uh, while I see it as, I can see that it can be turned into an advantage for a player, like especially one that's trying to be really consistent with like building their character and everything. But at the same time, I don't I don't know if I enjoy the fact that um these patterns are, they tend to get old after a little while.
Mhm.
Like, not
Mhm.
necessarily DayZ because it's still expanding and everything, so there's stuff new that comes in. But a game like, I don't know, say, uh, what have we played together? Like, okay, this is a perfect example. Army of Two.
Yeah.
Army of Two, number two. Um, which is basically what it is. It is a number two. It's a shit game. We didn't even finish that thing. But games get stuck into this thing where like the lack of adversity between or diversity between uh, these systems and these like play styles and
Mhm. Mhm.
things start to get annoying because they eventually everyone notices things like Will here. Eventually everyone notices the patterns of these things and it tends to just wear me down a little bit.
Mhm.
um I mean, it's it tends to just kind of put a dimmer on my gameplay. I mean, I don't know how it is for you, Will.
Well, in terms of just patterns in game, you've got to take the good with the bad. I mean, the for Daisy especially, it's you recognize these certain houses are generally the ones that have more loot in them,
Hmm.
or will have a an additional garage attached to it just by the look of the house. Um, so you learn to look for those things and just kind of as shortcuts to like find better things.
Hmm.
In Daisy in particular, it becomes really easy to notice those things, but since they vary the loot so much, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But for games like Army of Two, where
Obviously there are plenty of games that have baked in features where there's no random element at all, and every time you go through this particular spot, these particular things are going to happen.
yeah. So
Yeah.
games that we were just talking about that have really repetitive combat, really repetitive situations, stuff that where you can tell that they're just recycling areas and enemies and that sort of stuff. Really, it will definitely take away from a game.
Definitely.
So there's that. But in terms of just finding patterns in games, it's something that we all do, and we all try to find the best way for characters to do certain things.
Unless you're like me.
And so it's like for games like League of Legends, it's all about patterns and recognizing distances and how to best work your advantages. And for games that are real time like that, I struggle a little bit with that, but in terms of games where you look for patterns that will help you find stuff, it's a little bit easier.
It's interesting that there's just this dichotomy of uh, different types of people like you and me who are like pretty opposite in this kind of idea. Like, I love the random element. That's why I loved playing Rogue Legacy so much, right?
Yeah.
I was super into the fact that every time I walked through that castle, there was a new room to come into, right? There was this new thing to experience, like this something completely that you hadn't seen before. Well, there's elements that you have seen before, but they're always rearranged in a different way, and that kept my interest for a long time. And if you are not like me, you could, you could technically at the very beginning talk to this guy, the architect, who can freeze the castle for you, and all you have to do is just pay him a little bit before you go in, and the castle will be exactly the same every time. And some people revel in that, like speedrunners revel in that kind of thing, and it's just a different mindset that I'm still trying to understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing to notice all these different people, like much like different styles of kung fu or different styles of fighting. Zing! What a
good intro there.
What a good segue. So Will and I also have quite a guilty pleasure that we haven't talked about.
Speak for yourself. I just find pleasure in this.
No guilt in this. There's guilt in this. I'm sorry. There's guilt in this. Just as much as we'll admit.
You say so.
Come on now. Like, how many times has it been where you were like, "Oh man, I got to do this studying, but this Tekken looks so good right now." Exactly. Guilty. So me and Will have been for a quite long time now playing the Tekken games. I think I have 1 year on him of playing it.
It was actually one of the things we first bonded over.
Yeah, I would bring in Tekken 5. We both went to SBCC at one point, and that's where we met. SoCal, best school. I love SBCC.
Yeah, it's a great school.
And I had been there. I started when Will was on this break between school. He was taking a semester break.
Yeah.
And my first semester there, I started meeting all these friends who were big into video games, right? They were, and eventually I found out their trail led to the SBCC Video Game Club. The VGC was the original version of it.
Yeah.
And there would be, these kind of just really fun, like, nerd family thing going on here, where people would bring in their own TVs, and during our club time, or just, at that time, it was any time we wanted, as long as we were quiet enough, which started not being possible after a while.
In there, yeah.
But yeah, people bring in their own TVs, and there would always be Smash on one of the TVs, always Smash Brothers Melee. But there was another TV that someone had brought in their PS2 for, and I decided to bring Tekken 5 in that day. And, I had been playing Tekken since Tekken 2, I think.
Yeah.
And, it was, I've always loved playing fighting games in general, but Tekken was the fighting game for me.
Yeah.
And me and Will found out we both had this joy of this game. And we started,
Well, for me, it was,
more.
I picked up Tekken 3, like the junior year of high school. And nobody wanted to play it. So I would play it by myself, and I beat all the characters, all the endings.
And the problem is, you realize after that playing against a person is something completely different.
Because you can find patterns in games, and I would find all the patterns of the characters, the AI.
It was pretty
and I would
open
just
in that one.
I would just destroy it, and so I would spam on with Hwoarang and then Law and Jin. And so, Brock told me that he played Tekken. And I was like, what?
Tekken?
You played Tekken?
And I'm going to bring in Tekken 5, and it's on.
Yeah.
So thus began the battle between Heihachi and Hwoarang for a long time. Heihachi was my main character in Tekken 5.
And Hwoarang was my main character. I've since moved on.
To a new, annoying.
Yeah, Brock hates that I play
character.
him.
Lars.
But yeah, so we picked up that. and it was one of the things we really bonded over and became best friends, just because of Tekken. No.
Just because of Tekken, but the first game that I introduced to you, however, was Fable 2.
This is true. He did.
No, it was Fable. I said you should play Fable, but you're like, I have an X360. I don't think it's on that. I'm like,
yeah, you're right.
Get Fable 2.
Yeah.
Try it out. You were sick for a few days.
I was sick for like a weekend, and I just played Fable for like 48 hours straight.
And then you came back the next week. You were like,
dude. But yeah, I'm
like, what? I played all of Fable 2. Wait, how quickly? Within a day. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, I guess I was bedridden, and I just played on my tiny little 13-inch TV.
Oh my god, I love my little box. Yeah, I had this tiny, super shitty, like.
I had it too.
It was 13 inches, and it had like the built-in VCR, and it was just a cube, and it lasted forever. And it took such a beating.
His Xbox. This is how out of the loop he was before he met me. He had his Xbox 360 hooked up to normal TV, and and no, we have to tell this one. Following that, I was like, you know your Xbox can do a lot more than this. Like, just like nudge and nudge once in a while. And then one summer, it finally just sunk in. He was like, I want to buy a TV. I'm like, okay, I'll help you buy a TV. Yeah. So we went shopping a bunch, and we found him his first HD TV, which is still here at our house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, back to Tekken, it was just, our favorite characters, the battle went on forever, and we're still playing it up to this day. Tekken Tag Tournament 2. We're such huge Tekken players that as soon as a Tekken game comes out for the PS4,
we're
gonna get a PS4.
Yeah, we're abstaining from PS4, Xbox One for the time being, just because we both have PCs and we have enough.
There's also nothing really that huge on them, and yeah. I can get Titanfall on my PC if I wanted to, and that's the only thing I really care about right now, even though I haven't bought it yet.
So he played Heihachi, I played Hwoarang
for a long time,
and it's. One of the things I love about Tekken is that for such a structured fighting game, there is a lot of variability, and I struggle sometimes with this because Brock and his friend Bobby are really good at Street Fighter, and it's something that I struggle with because
I'm okay.
I don't. The 2D fighting plane is always a little tough for me, but just the variability that you can do with Tekken and setting up so many different techniques and
it's the juggling, bro.
Yeah. But it's been really I guess I'm trying to think of the way to say this properly.
For what?
It was a gateway drug for my fighting games,
Glad I was a part of that.
Brock was my dealer. So
yeah, so Will and I went on playing, Tekken 5, Tekken 6. We got Tekken 6 and we're so goddamn excited about that game.
Yeah.
For so long.
I think we got like the day it came
out. Then Tekken Tag 2 came out and we were like, what? This is getting even better. We got that like nearly the day it came out, yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we've been just playing with every character, and eventually I started having my friend Bobby over.
Bobby King.
And Bobby is just this. I mean, he's he always says he's not like competitive level Street Fighter player, but he's really good at playing Street Fighter against anyone who is relatively good at fighting games. I mean, or even really good. Like he's got his shit down. Mm-hmm. He plays MVC3 the most, but so when he came over the first few times and we'd sit down and play some fighting games, me and Will would be, either switching off controllers, doing whatever. And I started noticing Bobby's holding his controller differently. I'm sitting here going, well,
for those who play Xbox and those who play PlayStation, you'll notice that
PlayStation is so much better controller. Yeah.
But B, the PlayStation controller, you can hold it at a completely different angle, and you can have, for those who are right-handed, you can have the right hand over the controller rather than under it, which increases the maneuverability for your fingers, and makes it easier to fight using all 4 buttons.
Right, and I had been so ingrained since Tekken 2 of just using my thumb to press buttons, and I was really good at sliding my finger across the buttons instead of just being able to press 2 fingers on it. Like, I've tried holding the controller with the ring with the pointer finger and the middle finger, and like pressing the buttons like that on the face, and I just cannot do it. It is not it's not easy for me. And then just fighting sticks are always there too. But God, it reminds me of just like we've had this huge obsession with kung fu movies lately. Of Tekken, just because of Tekken.
Yeah,
like,
inspired by
just watching Tekken and being like,
Lei.
Why are we just playing this? Why can't we watch Masters do it? So one night we got super drunk, and I was like, Will, I found Drunken Master, and he's like, what? Drunken Master. It's a Jackie Chan movie from like the 1970s, and we watched that for all the way through, and that was a beautiful movie. We watched Jackie Chan doing his improvised drunken kung fu fighting, and that got us started into this huge rabbit hole of like just lots of kung fu movies. By far I still like the second Drunken Master movie the most, the one where he is a drunken master trying not to drink too much because he knows that it doesn't work if you drink too much, and that whole story and that final fight, man, that final fight is historical.
Where he's drinking the alcohol they used to clean the steel
soap
rods.
And fucking alcohol. Jesus. Yeah, but man, we got into, what movies did we get in? Like after that, like I went to just like exploring this shit, and I found this documentary where we got a good lead of like a bunch of movies. It's this documentary that's still probably on Netflix. It's a
Films of Fury.
Films of Fury, right? Because I had to tell him so he could tell his Chinese martial arts
history of Chinese martial arts.
History of Chinese martial arts teacher, which I would have loved to take in that class. Yeah, but I don't go to CI.
Yeah, yeah. Professor Vulcan at Cal State University Channel Islands, great teacher. But yeah, so that was, I got to tell him that I had found these movies, and he was like, "Yeah, those are great. Yeah, those are great."
How'd you know about those?
Yeah. So yeah, we've been doing that. We've watched a lot of Jet Li movies, a lot of Jackie Chan movies. We'll probably cover Bruce Lee eventually.
I've seen most of his,
right?
But yeah, I would definitely love to watch those again. Yeah. Damn.
So yeah, those are always really, really good to watch.
What's your favorite part about those movies?
Just for me, I really enjoy the over the topness of most of them.
Over the top, like the very so that's what. Do you love Jackie Chan the most because of that? Because that guy choreographs like a motherfucker.
Yes, he's such a brilliant choreographer, and his techniques are always so. Flourishing.
His stuff is so fine-tuned that it would probably be nearly impossible to do that in real life. And that's probably why he got so famous, because he was using these techniques like crazy, right? He was a martial artist. He is a martial artist. And, well, he's like teaching a Korean pop group how to sing now. But, I mean, seriously, how far can you deviate away from that shit? But yeah, it's like he had all these. He had the base of a bunch of different kung fu, and just like different schools and everything like that. And when he threw it in front of the camera, he's like, okay, I don't want to just do these styles separate from each other like most kung fu movies do, because most kung fu movies are all about the honor of using this certain technique as a part of your your city in China, or your district, or south, north, what have you. But Jackie Chan just decided, gonna mix these.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You'll see it, especially in films like Drunken Master. He blends a whole bunch of styles together. He has
you just can't tell because he's so fluid with
Drunken
it.
Fist. It's all. He does a really good job. and part of that is he had really good training. I think he was in the Beijing Opera. And they taught him a lot of stuff.
Huh.
But he's always been such a brilliant choreographer fighter. I don't believe he has any traditional fighting experience in terms of like a martial arts dojo. But it's possible he does. I know Jet Li does. Jet Li was a national champion in China a couple of times.
Damn. My God, those guys.
What I love about Jet Li is one of his quotes is he's never been in a fight and he never wants to, like a real fight.
He's a real kung fu martial artist right there.
So
that's what it's all about, bro.
That's really cool. Yeah, and so he did stuff like Jet Li did Fearless, and
that was a great movie.
Yeah, he's that movie. In addition to being a peerless martial artist, Jet Li is a phenomenal actor, and he's
phenomenal.
Done a lot of stuff.
I wouldn't say phenomenal myself, but
if you've seen,
he knows how to act. He's
won a number of awards in China.
He kind of lost some of my cool factor when I saw him in The Expendables.
Well, you could say that for pretty much anybody who was in The Expendables. Yes.
But most of those people, I'm glad I didn't care about already.
Yeah. So I don't knock him for doing that. I think for The Expendables especially, it was a bunch of older people saying, "Hey, we've got millions of dollars and nothing to do for the next 3 months. Do you want to make a movie?" So I don't knock him for that. But anyway, so to round that out, those are a lot of fighting styles you'll see in Tekken. Is you'll see a lot of characters that are based off of real life ones. Like Law is based off of Bruce Lee, or both Laws are. Lei Wulong is based off of Jackie Chan, and he does I think all the styles that Jackie does, including Drunken Master. And like the 5 Drunken Gods or whatever, where he does the barrel.
Dude, that's great. Yeah. I love that stuff.
He
didn't want to do the lady, I remember, in that first movie. Yeah. He didn't want to do the lady because it was too ladylike or some shit. Jackie Chan wasn't always like very respectful of women, I guess, but he eventually bottomed out and was fine with it. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just a young Chinese man thing. I don't know.
So yeah, but one of the former criteria, we don't do it as much now, is that to watch the movies, these kung fu movies, we had to be drunk. So like, especially while seeing Drunken Master,
we've kept pretty true to that one.
I think it was like 3 shots each plus a couple rum and peppers, Captain Peppers.
I think the first Ip Man was the best one.
Yeah.
And, we just started watching Ip Man and we saw the whole trilogy, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, they've Chinese film has been really interested in the story of Ip Man, the Wing Chun master who trained Bruce Lee.
Of course, they trained Bruce Lee.
Yeah, wow. But they've basically conveyed
before that. Oh, Chinese cares.
Yeah. So they've basically conveyed him as a godlike saint who kicks everybody's
really cool
ass
guy
at all points in time.
Well, see, that was Ip Man 1 and 2. That's interesting. Yeah.
So there's a lot of glossing over of his. He was an opium addict. He smoked a lot, that sort of stuff.
Didn't get glossed over in the latest one that we saw, the Grandmaster.
Yes.
Well, it got glossed over, but it was mentioned. Let's put it that way. Yeah. It was mentioned, and it was implied that he shared in doing that, at least.
So we were really impressed with the first one with Donnie Yen.
Such a good movie.
Who was phenomenal, and
it's not because we were drunk. We swear, it was just a good movie.
Yeah. And then we also picked up what was it, Man of Tai Chi?
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Keanu.
That was surprising to see Keanu Reeves wanting to do another like kung fu movie. He was so influenced by his own choreographer in The Matrix that did all of the choreography, because a lot of those scenes in The Matrix are definitely him, movement, everything like that. Mm-hmm. And he fell in love with it so much that he wanted to make his own kung fu movie that he directed, and he used this guy as his choreographer, and Man of Tai Chi ended up, and it was pretty cool. He even positioned himself as the bad guy, which was interesting.
Which, it's just really weird for a Hollywood actor to willingly play the bad guy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the coolest things about watching these kung fu films is that you'll look back and you'll see that oh my God, the guy who played Jet Li's father in Fearless was Seraph from The Matrix 2. Like, you'll make these connections that you didn't even think about before.
Is that Neo fighting freaking Man of Tai Chi?
Seriously, Man of Tai. It was so weird.
Oh, by the way, that is a thing. If you guys go and watch The Matrix Reloaded, which we just watched a few days ago, but first watch Man of Tai Chi to get the character, and you know who it is, you'll recognize him immediately when he's fighting inside the French guy's mansion.
Yeah,
it's pretty fucking cool.
Right away, you'll notice him.
Yeah.
His name is Tiger Chen. Tiger Chen, and he's done a lot of kung fu movies, but he had a leading role in Man of Tai Chi. And so this is kind of turning into like a kung fu podcast.
It doesn't matter. We weren't set here to do any specific shit, man. We're just talking.
So you'll make those connections. You'll see Tiger Chen in Matrix 2, and you'll see Jet Li's father from Fearless in playing as Seraph, which is in one of my humble opinions, one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen is when Keanu Reeves Neo fights Seraph to meet the Oracle.
Oh yeah, that was a nicely choreographed one.
Yeah,
I've always kind of been like, okay, Matrix, I understand, reality bending shit, but I'd like to see the kung fu less gravity defying. I mean, it wouldn't have happened. I mean, the scene with Neo fighting like that huge army of Smiths wouldn't have happened if you were just doing, on the ground fighting techniques. But, you can let up on the strings a little. I mean, I guess they were kind of just trying to harken back to kung fu theater period, but,
and that was one of the better things in terms of with Matrix, the first one, where he's learning kung fu. It's a lot of the traditional techniques, and you'll notice a lot of that. But for the Matrix, especially in the second one, it's supposed to be about how powerful Neo's become. So he's doing a lot of the jump and stuff, and he's doing a lot of the crazy, the Superman flying especially, which I didn't really agree with when I first saw it, and it's still not great with it now.
The Matrix Revolutions was such a disappointment with with the final battle. Like, they did not do nearly enough actual fighting martial arts in that. It was disappointing.
It was becoming too much like Dragon Ball Z.
Well, I mean, yeah, because technically that's the same sort of world. Like, not anything except for the fact that they can fly and they're overpowered human beings. But it's like, I started noticing it in The Matrix Reloaded when I first saw it, and The Matrix 1, cool with your little scene with avoiding the bullets. Good job, Neo. You got grazed by a bullet in slow motion. That kind of thing. But then it went to The Matrix Reloaded, where the kung fu took backseat to CGI. Yeah, and which was kind of sad.
That was really upsetting for a lot of people.
And the CGI took backseat to too much gunplay, I thought. But that's just me. And then you get to The Matrix Revolutions, and you've got fight scenes that are kind of cool, but way too computer animated to be realistic enough. It kind of bummed me out.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Steven Spielberg, first got into the CGI, the explosions and stuff. He got really into it and kind of dominated a lot of his films. And then that
part of Steven Spielberg transformed into a man named Michael Bay. He kind of had this growth on the side of his head that just kept growing.
We need
action on the side of his head. Action tumor, until that tumor grew into a human being named Michael Bay.
So that it did the CGI and the making of those big explosive scenes that are not so much about the fighting as the effects.
Did you know Michael Bay's doing the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
movie?
movie?
I'm not stoked about that.
Oh God.
Luckily,
I feel like my childhood's going to be beaten to death if I see that movie.
Well, luckily, I feel like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles don't necessarily lend themselves to a lot of hyper extravagant explosions and that sort of stuff.
All right. Which was kind of a cool charm, to be honest.
Yeah. But, so I can see that as a limiter on him, but knowing Michael Bay, he'll probably put something huge in there that'll.
I really hope not, because I don't think there was even like one 2-story enemy in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Go to fucking Power Rangers for that shit. It's like, please keep Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles intact, Michael Bay. That's all I beg of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, That's gonna about do it for today, guys.
Yeah.
We hopefully we'll be able to get back onto this. This was really fun.
Yeah.
If you want to check out stuff that I'm doing, I'm on the internet as much as I can. I'm an animator, mainly in Flash, so I'm not 3D animating yet, but I have a YouTube channel where this is going to go up, and I'm going to eventually be making an intro video to the channel. And then I'm also working on an animation with a friend of mine named Chris, and you can also catch me on Twitch. I've been streaming like crazy with Will and friends and the SBCC Video Game Club and stuff like that. I've been really trying to get going on the internet, guys. I feel like it's the place for me, you know. But this was fun. Until next time, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Brock, for having me.
No problem. Later.
I'm Slim Chin and I'm out.